While it looks like nothing is going to happen in this January window for Manchester United, we know in the summer it's going to be a massive transfer window, potentially the biggest transfer window yet, with £300 million being touted, 250 to £300 million being touted, depending on sales. There's rumours that Ratcliffe is investing an initial 95 million of his own, which will be added to the transfer budget upon how many players are going to be sold, and a lot of players are going to be sold. So we're going to look at INEOS's transfer wish list. Who are the players that are sort of rumoured to be going to Manchester United? Who would I sign with 300 million? I think because we've only just brought in Omar Berrada, we haven't got Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell, a lot of people in place yet. There's only one or two players that have been consistently and quite concretely linked to United. I think what else INEOS are going to do is very up in the air. But one thing we do know is it's going to be a massive clear out. It looks like Greenwood, McTominay, Hannibal, Mejbrit, now Raul Fernandez will be some of the first players out, because that's going to raise money in terms of FFP, because they're homegrown players. There'll be a pure profit. We know that United have been struggling with FFP. We know Ratcliffe's a 90 million investment will give us a £150 million boundary of FFP, if that is true. And we know that Lindelof, Anthony, Donny, Martial, Ericsson, Evans, probably you'd expect to leave the club, and Sancho. I would personally sell Lindelof for 20 million, see if we can get 40 million for Anthony and Sancho. Donny would get 10 million for. Martial, you just save like 10 million a year in wages. Evans, I'd let him go out because I want to bring in two centre-backs, and Ericsson. So let's go start off with who Man United's first earning is. How we'll be spending this about 250 to 300 million pounds. So these are the players of interest. These are centre-backs that United have been linked to. I am a big fan of Diomande, but he's not really been heavily linked to United. There's Todibo, there's Branthwaite, there's Inacio, there's Antonio Silva, there's Mark Gay, and there's Lenny Euro, who've been most credibly linked to United. Tapsover's also been linked recently as well. Now, I would sign two centre-backs, and my first centre-back signing would be Todibo. Do I think Diomande is better? Do I think that Antonio Silva will be better? Yes. But when I look at value for money, Manchester United's connection with Nice, I think that Todibo is probably the best and simplest deal to do. And I think he's the only player that's been linked to Manchester United where there's a lot of credibility there, in the sense of, well, I think a lot of the players that we're linked to, you have to take with a massive pinch of salt, even players that we've been repeatedly linked to, because I think, well, Dan Ashworth, Paul Mitchell, whoever's coming in is not in place yet, and nothing will be decided till then. But I think with the scouts approving this, with Ten Hag approving this, with, obviously INEOS rating him because he's at Nice, I think that Todibo could be very likely. Now, Todibo is 24. He plays for Nice. He's going to be around £40 million. He's been wanted and looked at by Chelsea, Spurs, a lot of good clubs, was previously at Barcelona and has been phenomenal this season and was very, very good last season. What makes Todibo stand out is he's a very good wide channel defender. He's very good at defending in the wide spaces. And if you look at sort of Liverpool with Van Dijk and Konate and that pairing that looks so good, you've got Konate that's very mobile, very comfortable, covering a lot of ground, defending the wide spaces, and then you've got Van Dijk that's the perfect box defender that's got the physical ability to win everything in the air. And I think that pairing works really well. Now, I think Todibo coming in as a wide channel defender would be really good, helping with the wide channels, could even play right back if needed. But I think why he would excel is because he's very comfortable in possession. We know that United struggled a little bit in build-up, particularly early on in the season, and Kobbie Mainoo's coming and relieve that. Obviously, Lissandro Martinez will come in and relieve that. But if he's comfortable in possession via long passes, very good long passing statistics, or carrying the ball via dribbling, it's going to be very important. His only weakness is aerial duels, and you think potentially pairing that with Lissandro Martinez, that could be a little bit of a worry there, which is why Manchester United might want to bring in a 6/8 physical hybrid. But do you know who else I would bring in? Because I would ideally get rid of Maguire, Evans and Lindelof, just keep Martinez and Varane. And bear in mind, Varane's future isn't very secure at United, which is, I think, is why you have to bring in two centre-backs, but is Branthwaite. And I know a lot of people think English player, not the most mobile. Is this another Maguire? But I think this guy is an absolutely brilliant player. I watched him for the England under-21 Euros. Every single game for Everton this season, bar that Manchester City game, he's looked very, very solid. And I think he'd be very good in terms of partnering Lissandro Martinez, partnering Todibo, I think he's a box defender, and that's something that United would need. He's very good in the air, very good at winning his duels. I think he's pretty much wins everything in the air. I believe he stands at 6'5". He's very two-footed, and he kind of reminds me of Vidic. Martinez can be more of the Rio, and he would be more of the Vidic, if you get what I mean. Well, Todibo would be more of a Rio, and he'd be more of a Vidic, because he would literally break his nose to block the ball, to stop the ball going in. But also he's very two-footed, so he can play left centre-back, he can play right centre-back. I think with Martinez's injury record, it might be him and Todibo playing a centre-back. It could be him and Varane playing a centre-back, which I don't think totally would work together, but him and Todibo would work very well. Him and Martinez would work very well. And I think, yes, his weakness is maybe recovery plays and mobility, but because he's got such a high IQ and such a high reading of the game, I think he's one of those players that you look at and actually think he might be all right in a high line. He's going to be probably fine with, as long as he has a fastest defender, a mobile defender that's good at defending the wide channels next to him. But because he can read the game well, he will be absolutely fine defending a high line. It was also said these are the midfielders that United have been linked to: Amadou Onana, João Neves, Mats Wiefer, Fofana, Andre and Subamende. Look, if I was going to be totally unrealistic, I would be putting De Jong and Tchouaméni right on this list of INEOS' £300 million wish list. I would go all out, and I'd even go all out for Camavinga, because they've got Valverde, they've got Modric, they've got Kroos, they've got Bellingham, they've got Tchouaméni. That Camavinga's on the bench a lot for Real Madrid. Maybe I would try for Camavinga. If I was going to be honest, Berrada, De Jong, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, I would literally, if I could sign any two midfielders, it'd be two of those four. But the reason they're not on the list is because it's never going to happen. Amadou Onana has been linked to United about £50 to £60 million. João Neves has been linked to United £80 to £100 million. Mats Wiefer is going to be in that £30 to £40 million range. Fofana is going to be in that £30 to £40 million range. Him being at Monaco as well, if Paul Mitchell comes in, could get some more insight on that. Andre is expected to be around £20 million. And Subamende, who has now been linked heavily to Arsenal, I believe is a £50 million release clause. But who would be my first midfielder? And this might surprise you, but I'm going to go with Mats Wiefer. I don't think there's much between him and Amadou Onana, but he's probably going to be about half the price of Amadou Onana, and he's a 6'8" hybrid that's 6'3". He's a great ball winner, good at winning the duels. He's got those long legs so he can put in a tackle, and his defensive awareness is very good. And I think I'm looking at someone that can be a 6'8" hybrid with physicality, that's good defensively, that can read the game, that can cover a lot of ground, but is also, is going to win stuff in the air to partner Kobbie Mainoo, because Kobbie Mainoo is a fantastic player, but his one weakness would be maybe a little bit defensively in terms of duel winning, physicality, aerial duels. And I think Kobbie Mainoo, he's mostly played as an 8. He is playing as a 6 now because Ten Hag wants him to be the first receiver in the Manchester United midfield, because we struggle in build-up. But I think ultimately Kobbie Mainoo will be moulded into an 8 or moulded into a dual pivot 6, not a lone 6, where he would have someone physical next to him that could allow him to push up. But every now and then when Kobbie Mainoo would drop back, the physical player, Mats Wiefer, with his height, would push up if he needed to play long balls and he could win it in the air. It would give us a lot of versatility. And I think the only weakness with him is Eredivisie and how Eredivisie players have done recently in the Premier League. But I think £30 million, I think realistically, when we can't get Tchouaméni, when there's not loads of big names out there, I would go for him. And that would give us the funds to get Andre. Now, I would absolutely love João Neves. I think João Neves is absolutely incredible, but he's going to be £80 million. So I'd rather leave him at Benfica for another year. And he's someone I'd go for in 2025. There's certain players that I like, but I'd go for them in 2025 instead of 2024. And I think Andre is probably the closest you're going to get to João Neves in terms of a player that United have been linked to, but he's going to be around 20 million. And the way I see it is Casemiro and Wiefer would be the DM next season. And with Mainoo also being able to cover there, I think Mainoo and Andre would be that in that centre mid role, because I don't think Mainoo and Andre could play together in the pivot. Well, they could, but it wouldn't be the most physical. And then Bruno and Matt would be in the attacking roles, because I'm thinking of taking Eriksen out. I'm thinking of replacing Eriksen and McTominay here, if you see what I'm doing. And also actually Eriksen, McTominay and Amrabat being replaced by Wiefer and Andre. Now, I think Andre is more in this list because he's cheaper than João Neves, despite me thinking João Neves is better. I'm looking at where money's going to go. Liverpool are looking at him. He is a good player, but he's kind of like Mainoo in a sense of he's a top controller of the game. He's great in possession. He covers large spaces. He's got an IQ. Physically, he's not the best, but he does use his upper body strength quite well. But it's his reading of his game, his ability to basically cover an immense amount of ground, play the ball, help him build up. And I think we're very reliant on Kobbie Mainoo at 18 years of age. And that's because Kobbie Mainoo is very good in build-up. Kobbie Mainoo excels in build-up. And I think if something happens to Kobbie Mainoo, we'll instantly miss his presence in midfield, and Andre would give some cover for that. Now diving into probably, arguably, one of the most important positions, because it feels like Manchester United don't get any of their right-wing signings right. And that is Elise, Nico Williams, Bakayoko and Sule. I would buy any of these 4 players happily. I love all of these 4 right wings that we've been linked to. I think they're all fantastic, but value for money, I'm going with Nico Williams. He's 21 years of age. He can play right wing, he can play left wing, he can play on both wings. And I'm thinking, well, realistically, if Sancho played on both wings, Nico Williams can replacement for Sancho. Then maybe Ahmad is the replacement for Anthony, left footer on the right side, or maybe United look at an Elise as well if the budget's there and bring 2 wingers, which we'll talk about later on, to replace Anthony. But I think what I like about him is he's an elite dribbler, he's a creator, he's fast, he's direct, he's clinical. He's in the top 4% of wingers for progressive carries and successful take-ons, which means he carries the ball high up the pitch, he dribbles the ball at distances and takes on his players. How many times does Anthony get the ball after take 50 touches and pass sideways because he can't beat his man? He's predictable. He goes onto his weak foot. 6 goals, 9 assists in 22 games. Decent statistics for a 21-year-old. His ball striking is very, very good. He scored a big goal against Barcelona the other day. But what I like about him is he's creative. He creates for his striker. Oh my, Rasmus Højlund has had nothing created for him, and I think he's great. Which brings me into the final 2 positions. We've got 110 million remaining. Obviously, we're going to go into a striker to help Højlund. But after we get that striker, which you could go all out on Victor Osimhen here, but I actually think Højlund's going to be a great player and wouldn't be interested in spending 100 million on a striker. And realistically, I think the budget will be nearer 250 million than 300 million. And Manchester United, we're trying to be a bit realistic here. It's not FIFA. Would you go for someone like Frimpong or would you go for someone like Elise? Because I almost think that we need 2 wingers. Because Ahmad's great, but we just don't know with his injuries quite yet. Garnacho's great. Rashford's good, but he's out of form. I kind of think that we need 2 wingers. So I'm kind of at the point of, would I bring in a striker and Elise on top of Nico Williams, or do I go for someone like Frimpong? But in terms of the striker options, we've been linked to Xerxes, Sesko, and Brobbey. They're the players that Man United have been linked to. I think out of those 3, Xerxes probably looking the best right now. But I think names that we could watch out for someone like Skimak or Jimenez that are going to be in that under £40 million range. That could give Højlund some healthy competition. And I'm going with Santiago Gimenez, £30 to £40 million. I know another Eredivisie player, but I think value for money and the fact that they've got Højlund, who I think is going to be a fantastic striker, this guy would be good competition. And the reason I think he'd be good competition is he's more than just a goal scorer. You can see his statistics here, 21 goals and 5 assists in 25 games. But he can create space for others. He's very intelligent with the runs he makes, the movement he makes. He makes runs that draw out defenders, and defenders sort of leave him, and he draws out defenders there. He's very good at sort of other things like link-up play, very good at dribbling at people. Hold-up play is massively developed as well. But he's a good ball striker. He's very good in tight spaces, creating space for himself to get a shot off. He's a good ball striker, and he's got good statistics. I guess the big weakness is Eredivisie and the fact of what's the kind of striker to work with Højlund. Would you want someone more experienced that you can learn from? Do you want someone that's going to be healthy competition? Has been linked to West Ham, has been linked to Chelsea, but I think value for money could be the best option out there. But that brings me into the final bit of the video, and that is where do we spend the remaining funds? There could be 60 to 70 million left over if it is a 300 million budget and not a 250 million pound budget. And it's a big toss-up between Frimpong and Elise for me. It is a massive toss-up because I think we need a right back, but I also think we need another winger. So I'm going to ask you guys down below, how would you spend the funds? Where would they go? Let me know. Thank you for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. See you next time. Bye.